Welcome back, ladies and gents. Ended the last video. Well, the only thing happening was me waiting on my various troops to make it to where I'd ordered them to go. In this case, the leg engineers moving to Fort Rucker. Also, I wanted to, now that I've cleaned up all the barracks that I no longer wanted, and let me take care of this first. Sure, we'll take that. Netherlands still hates me. Do want to sell me petroleum. Now, I'm going to look at this a lot closer in a moment because I want to stop nilly-willy buying petroleum since I no longer need to. And I did not realize that I had taken the game off of pause there just for a minute. This new keyboard's very sensitive. If you just touch a key, it seems to activate it. Now, what I wanted to do, though, is I know that at some point something is going to happen in Europe concerning my allies, and I want to be prepared for that. I think I mentioned in the last video how long it takes to gather forces and move them to Europe. So what I like to do is pre-position forces, including naval, along the border. And I've sort of did that with my ground troops already. Air, it doesn't matter because they move so fast. But I want to move my naval units to basically pre-positioned locations. And that way when I need to move troops, all I have to do is let the naval units come out of port and then gather all the troops. I don't have to wait a long time for naval units to move from the west coast to the south coast or the east coast, etc. So what I normally do, you can see I have 157 naval units. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let them all come out, let the game run so that they will stop moving. You want them at a stop, a full stop before you try to do anything with them. All right, now I'm going to look at what we have. For example, starting in the Gulf, we have a lot of submarines. All right, I don't want any of these carriers here, for example. Or the Zumwalts. The Zumwalt is my primary escort. So I want him to go up to the east coast. What have we got here? Also, I'm going to move these. I did get them. Okay. Here we have some subs, a Nimitz, an American, and Independence. I want to move both of these up here. We'll move them right here down to, I'm going to put them in, I know this says Langley, but it's not really. Langley Air Force Base does not have a port. Okay, and we have here these are all good. I'll leave that as is. These are good also. I can see already that I think there's a couple. I'm looking to see where the transport ships are and are the supply ships, like the Algols, for example. Want to make sure they're all on the coast, on the east or west coast. There's no reason to have them here because I would never need to transport troops down here. These are so close I could just jump down with aircraft if need be, drop troops off. Also, something else I normally do, this is good. I'm going to leave that as is. Let me take a gander here. I like to fortify, you know, I don't know if people are aware, but the U.S. has a military base in Cuba. I guess if you play this game, you know. I like to fortify this. So even though we're at peacetime, I'm going to go ahead and fill up the garrison at Guantanamo. I'm also going to send some ground forces there. But first, I'm going to build a barracks. I want a barracks there because I want to station troops there. Because in reality, there are troops stationed there. So we'll let that build first, and then I'll send some troops down there. I usually send about 21 mechanized infantry, and that's more than enough to handle anything the Cubans are going to throw at you. We got some supply there. I want to move these subs down here. I'll move them all the way down here. Generally, there's not anything that goes on up north. Canada's an ally. I can't think of any reason I'd need to have naval units up there. All right, so now that I've got... I'll leave these subs here because with the exception of these SSBNs, I'm going to move the boomers up here. I'll leave the other subs, though, because there are times, if for example, Cuba declares war on us, they will send out little patrol boats, so the submarines are good to have. Occasionally, Mexico will declare war on the USA, and it's good to have those submarines to put up a picket line to keep them away from your oil fields or your oil platforms out here in the Gulf. Indonesia declared war on Vietnam. All right. Let's take a look at this. All right, Brunei wants to sell us petroleum. Now, looking at Brunei, I talked about them before. They're fine as far as I'm concerned. I will sell to them. The problem is they want... Let's look at our storage levels. 212 and 225. So we're already... It costs us less to produce oil than the market price of the oil. So they want us to give us less than market price. So I'm going to go ahead and accept that because we're already, our expenses are less than market price. So that's okay. Now looking at the rest of these, okay, they want to sell us. Cameroon wants to sell us military goods. They're a democracy and their government. Notice here you have, I mentioned in the previous video that you have 4 parties that run for elections. And that's why you only need anything better than 25% to win. Here the ruling party's got 32%. Although the people, you can see that the domestic approval rating, or as we call the DAR, is going down. But it is a democratic... They want to give me 254 million, but they only want, they want more, 290 million. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and accept again because... Again, I was thinking about trying to court Liberia, but I waited too long, so I don't have any access there. But perhaps Cameroon can provide us. I don't see that's really one of the very few countries that are on the west coast of Africa that are not hostile to us, and they're even cold. But at any rate, I'm going to accept that. Of course, Taiwan... They want rubber. Well, they have no other means of getting rubber, so we'll sell them. Kuwait is okay. Morocco's okay. And Gabon. And, of course, Israel wants some rubber. All right, now, what I was going to say, getting back to moving these units. Once they're over on the east and the west coast or moved down from the Seattle area down here, I'm just going to let them reserve because that's the locations I want them to be. What I do is essentially I try to use one major port for my shipping port. For example, if I have to ship forces to the Pacific, I'll try to come out of San Diego here. Sometimes I'll use Alameda. And when it's the East Coast, I typically prefer what this says, Langley Air Force Base, or New York. So it all depends on where I'm moving. But I do like to have them consolidated. So once they get up there, and I'll leave these as they are, just order them into reserve. Order these back into reserve. Fuel cells for vehicles. and something else previously that I must have missed. I'm going to look at the actual military unit designs. I don't want any airborne elite. I don't want the boxcar. And I don't want the M11. I already know this. I don't want the Stingray or the 120. I don't want the Tusk. All right, we'll let that be. I still got that supply vehicle there. The thing with that supply vehicle is it's amphibious and it can be airdropped, but it's such a small quantity of cargo it can carry. It's only 168 and it uses so much fuel. I don't particularly care for that one. I'm going to throw in this right here because this is the most modern tanker. So we want to upgrade to that. And I do want to throw in a B-21 Raider. I think I mentioned early on that that's what I was going to replace my bombers with. My stealth bombers, strategic bombers. So we'll throw both of those in there. And we'll go back to... We've got 2 Raptors. And we'll look at the transport situation again. I don't want that Osprey there. Although I left it there because of the 130, but the 216 is just such a tiny amount because the game is based on brigades, and you're not going to get. It's just too small of an amount for the game, the way the game is based. So I'm not interested in that. Also want to get rid of this, as I've unlocked. I did this previously, but as you unlock some technologies, more stuff becomes available, and you might have to go back and delete some more stuff. Now this SOF Special Forces, they are also 130, but the quantity, their carrying capacity is even smaller than the Osprey. Not interested. Now, and it's hard to beat that Stork. You saw the Osprey was 216. The Stork is 648. It's 3. You know, it's the equivalent of 3 Ospreys. And it has a range of 2,860 kilometers. That's why I prefer it. And let's look at naval vessels. Again, only... we've got the A. Gerald R. Ford now. But it is the different... It might still be out, in fact. Yeah. Let's find one here. Assuming there is one in this group, I see here the CVN 78. We've only got one. That's why I said we've got A. Gerald Ford. I would like to produce more, and I will look at that. They take an awful long time, so we're going to throw in, right off the bat, we're going to throw in 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And anything else? Again, I was looking at these to start with. We've got 27 Raptors, Delta Raptors. We've got 40 interceptors. I always want to have more interceptors than I have Raptors or tactical bombers because you have to. I like to get combat air superiority first, and then control of the skies, and then you move in your bombers. So I always like having more interceptors. I'm going to throw in some of these. Now these are going to be very expensive. You only want to throw in a few at a time. I'm going to throw in 7. I want 2 more Global Hawks. And we've got 14, 24, 36. Now, I don't think, in this case, I'm just going to throw in some more Lightnings. for a total of 27. But one of the things I want to do while all these units are moving around, let's put the Navy only. Click on Navy to filter out those ground units that are moving around and put them back in reserve since they're all up where I want them to be. Dude, I'm going to look out here because there may be some units out here. Now I want to move my carriers, both the LHDs and the LHDs and the full carriers, back to the coast. Brazil declared war on Paraguay. Interesting. I don't think they're going to last long. Now, there are some games where I will start the game as the U.S.A., for example, and I try to follow the Monroe Doctrine, meaning it's really a doctrine from a very long time ago. But basically, we have reason to want to assert our will throughout the Americas, North, South, and Central. And no one should be allowed to attack any of these countries. And typically, I kind of play it by ear. Like, if Brazil attacks Paraguay like they just did, Portugal's way over there, and there's no reason for me not to intervene. But in this game, remember, I have a house rule that I'm not going to declare war on anyone, so I can only defend myself. Let's see what we got up here. Morocco wants timber. Kuwait wants to sell us petroleum. Yeah, I'll accept all that. Okay, I believe we now have I guess I'm going to leave these here because they're sort of forward deployed. And something else I typically will do that I don't remember if I did and my lack of sleep induced. Oh, I want to move both of these back to the coast for sure. Unmanned aerial observation. That's good. And we can see if you're ever not sure what it leads to, you can always come down here and look at known technologies. The problem is sometimes I don't pay attention to what group they were in. Like here, obviously it's not. It must be in warfare. Unmanned. So it gives us, again, I just started the game, so I'm going to click this just for my region. It gives me the Sea Tiger and the Molnar, which I will not use because I try to use, when it comes to recon units, I want them to be, ideally, they're airdroppable and amphibious, and this is neither. So it's not very good. And just don't use patrol ships. I don't really care for them. It's not something that I need to have when I can have those LCSs. They're just much better all around. They're more modern also. We'll go ahead and put these guys in reserve. China declared war on Tajikistan. Well, I don't know why they would do that. See, they don't... There's just so much emptiness out here. Active armor protection. All right, we've got Taiwan, Gabon, Kuwait, Morocco, Israel, and Hungary. Now, Hungary. Yes, they are an ally. All right, so they want timber. We're definitely going to accept that. I don't think... Yeah, it looks like Ukraine's going to take over Belarus here in a moment. You know, I say Belarus. It may be Belarus. I actually don't know, so I apologize. Weapons Industry Advances 3. Now, that's an important one because I believe that's one of those that unlocks a whole... Oh, we went from 19 to 16, so apparently we got other stuff that I didn't see. Weapons Industry Advances 3. Yeah. Land combat stealth designs, military systems integration, and self-healing armor. All three of these are very good. And we're going to go with the land combat stealth designs. That gives us that low set that I was talking about. And although I say that, we may go with military systems integrations because that opens up the next military weapons advances. And if I can click that, you see that just opens up a lot of opportunities. So I think we'll go that route instead. Instead of the stealth, we're going to go with the military systems. Assuming they are available. Sometimes there's other, there we go. Military systems integration, and we'll throw in self-healing armor. Actually, we'll throw all of them in. All three of them. Boom. What have we got here? Israel again. Trinidad, Tobago, Egypt, and Japan. Now, Japan is still at war with, I think, Russia. They're still not an ally. Yeah, China, Hong Kong, North Korea, Russia, and Vietnam. They're busy. Busy people. Poland, here we go, has declared war on Serbia. Now, Poland is an ally, but they are the aggressors here. And I have there's no feedback in the game to tell me why they did this. Sometimes it'll say due to, here it just says Poland's declared war on Serbia. Sometimes it'll say something like, due to unprovoked long-range attacks, so-and-so has declared war on so-and-so. In this case, there's no indication of why this happened. Poland has just arbitrarily declared war on Serbia. I don't know why. I have no idea. They're both democracies. Serbia doesn't appear to be bothering anyone else. These are just the generic AI setups from this start period. So in this case, I'm simply going to click OK because I don't know that I should support that because I don't know why they did it. They're an ally. If they were attacked, I would support them, of course. But I'm just going to let it go. I know how it's going to play out. Serbia is not going to last very long. They went straight to the capital. And Uzbekistan selling me petroleum. I'll say yes because, again, each one of these little trades supposedly increases your standing a little bit with that nation. But, of course, the other things you do that you're not aware of decreases it. So it kind of, I don't know, it doesn't offset because you don't know what you're doing to increase it or to decrease it, I mean. All right, these are the same people requesting the same things over and over again. Probably doing it for 7-day trades. Congo Democratic Republic was eliminated. Oh, South Africa took them. I did not expect that. But I did mention, I think in the previous video, that South Africa, in most of my games, South Africa just rampages through Africa. I don't know why. I'm not aware that they're a particularly belligerent nation, but that's what they do in the games. A whole lot of units there on the map, and definitely Serbia is it's just a matter of time now. All right, our counterintelligence captured a spy from Mexico? What were they doing? Ah, they were checking out Puerto Rico. Is Mexico eyeing Puerto Rico? Yes, launch that satellite. Let's get back over here and take a gander. Because they're going to fall very soon. There's Paraguay. Brazil took them. That was a given. In my opinion, in South America, Brazil is the powerhouse. They're the ones to beat. I've routinely see them take over almost everybody down here. Poland's declared. All right, Poland is on a rampage, and I don't know why. I'm guessing that now that Ukraine is now that Ukraine has made Belarus so weak that Poland just sees an opportunity to gather some more land, and they're going to take it. I can't believe Serbia is still. Just that one little holdout there. There they go. All right, Poland is rampaging. Satellite available for launch. Yes, launch it. And we have the U.A.E. I spent some time there. I really enjoy that place, actually. You might have heard of Dubai. That's in the United Arab Emirates. And that's... it's unique in that area, I'll say. We'll let all this go through. I don't think Belarus is going to last much longer. Ceasefire. Okay, so South Africa and Uganda reached a ceasefire. Well, that's good. Look at there, we're down 2 units here, so I want to throw in. We got plenty of Bradleys being built. We got the mortars. How many mortars do we have now, since they only take a few days to build? I like to build at least 70. I like to build enough to have at least 10 stacks of 7 each. 10 stacks is a good number for setting a defensive line. And by the way, I typically use all artillery in a defensive position. Artillery cannot capture land, so you moving it forward into enemy territory is no good, and it has very low defensives. So I'll set up a defensive line and then place artillery behind it, and then behind the artillery you have AA or modern AAA and supply vehicles. And in amongst all that, you have a couple of recon units. I like those. Where are they at here? These mobile radars, but there's another version of it. You can see this right here has a range of 110. There's another version that has a bigger range, and we should be getting that not too long from now. So I'm just not going to build any of these right now. I'll just rely on my air assets if I need them. Let's put these in reserve. And those 2 units that I want to throw in there, I wanted to see how many artillery I did. I had 45. That's we're going to throw in 2 more. Well, let's take a look at this. Because I only wanted to have 7 engineers. I do want to increase, I'm talking about 7 leg engineers so that I can move them to any far-flung ports or airfields if I need to increase the repair speed. Because typically my engineers never leave the United States, my actual engineers. So these I'm going to use in lieu of. Also, there's no reason, since my whole goal here is to save money and pay off our debt, which we're going to do here probably soon. Maybe not this video. It's hard to tell. I like to pay it off when I get to about 750, because that'll be 754 million a day that I'm saving myself. See here, 754 million a day just in interest, not including the actual debt. But there is a more modern engineer unit that I could build, which is, I don't want these Special Forces 2 either. Green Beret 2 all the way. This combat engineer has much better stats, but since I never plan on using my engineers in combat, they're just that, they're engineers. Notice here that the annual maintenance, by the way, notice how clean and concise this is. Supreme Ruler Ultimate, in my opinion, compared to the Supreme Ruler 2030. I just don't like the UI for 2030. That's just a personal opinion. I'm sure many people do. But This every day is $231 million for annual maintenance, 231 million, really 231 and a half. And all they're going to do is increase the speed. And the technology level of your engineers has no effect on how fast things are produced or built. So I'm going to keep this low-level engineer that's only at 36 million because they do the exact same thing and they cost a whole lot less and they're never going to be in combat. So I always like to have 49. So I'm going to throw 2 more in there and put them on auto build because, again, 49 is 7 stacks of 7, and that's the most you can put in a hex. And that means for every stack of 7, you lose a day off a build. So 7 stacks is a week. When you can put an entire hex full of engineers, every day that goes by saves you a whole week of build time. So you can imagine 10 days is 70 days of build time. It's very useful for your long-range projects. Okay, I imagine Russia declared on Kazakhstan. I thought they had already done that, to be honest with you. I remember looking at Kazakhstan earlier and talking about that, but I don't know. Anyway, Belarus is about to fall. Who was it that had declared war? Maybe it was China. Yeah, it must have been China. Okay, but these guys will be gone shortly. They've only got a little bit of territory left. As you can see, this is their current capital, and it's surrounded and isolated. And we're going to look at this stuff. Again, the same people over and over again. Gabon, Taiwan, Kuwait, and agriculture. Hungary. Now I'm going to look. I want to look again at how much money we're making from sales. And again, industry goods. Wow, industry goods. Well, you know, there's a lot of war going on right now, so that makes sense. Industry goods. A lot of things get damaged in war, and they need to be repaired. So industry goods would be selling good right now, in addition to military goods, which is the number 2 spot. And let's look at military goods. We have the capability to produce 20,000, and we're only producing 1,400, and we have a stock of 500,000. So let's lock military goods. Top exporters. Well, we're already the number 1 exporter of military goods. You know what? I'll leave it alone because it's already doing good. It cost us 73,000 to make. And the market is 78. It's going up, of course, because of the warfare. All right, we'll let that be for now then. I was going to fiddle with it, but it's okay. Besides, these wars will end shortly. Poland is just going to expand. You know what's going to happen? Poland and Russia are going to go to war. That's what I'm predicting. There's a next generation radar. I was just talking about we're going to get that shortly. Let's see if this is the one that unlocks the advanced recon unit. There it is, Advanced Mobile Recon. So I need one more, which is the military systems integration, which we had put in earlier, so we're good on that. And I know I don't want this because it's not amphibious. And the Shadow's not amphibious. Typically, at this point, the Tracer is going to be my go-to recon unit because in addition to being airdroppable and amphibious, it can move 1,200 kilometers at 95 miles an hour, and it has a visual range of 61 kilometers, which is several hexes, and then it has a stealth rating. In this case, it shows profile, but it's a stealth rating of 60. So that's typically going to be my go-to. So let's just go ahead and drop these other 2, or that one. I want to keep the advanced mobile radar because I am going to use that when it becomes available. And the next thing we want to throw in, let's see here, vehicle refit for advanced sales. Vehicle fuel consumption minus 25. And then that leads to, that's its own thing. That's what I was just looking at. Maybe not, because these are the, I could do either, actually. They both reduce fuel consumption by 25%. Let's go with the oldest one, 2007. We'll throw that in there. again, we're selling a lot of petroleum right now. That's not going to last for long because we will reach a point where we're out of petroleum again as the country progresses. Unit construction, too. I think I just never... By the way, if you play like I do and you have the minister locked so they can't do anything, you'll notice this says we have 2 unused Air Force unit construction unit slots. I recommend we increase our build. If you click agree or you click the green arrow, that turns on that AI minister, and he's going to start putting units in your build queue. A lot of people will just click on that, and it's easy to do by mistake because everything else you're just acknowledging. Acknowledge, acknowledge, acknowledge. But this particular message, you're actually performing an action if you click the green arrow. And then people will say, why is my minister doing this or that, and I've got them turned off. Never click agree on that if you don't want them to. Just go ahead and X out of it. Clear the message entirely. That way you won't be wondering why X amount of units are being built and you never ordered them and your minister's turned off. All right, the capital's about to fall. Brazil, I don't know what their deal is, but they seem to be wanting to clear house in South America. I don't know how they're going to get to Peru. I don't know how they're going to get to... They're going to have to go through Peru. I don't know why I clicked on Chile. All right, there's Belarus. Alexander Lukashenko? I don't know. Oh, Norway. Well, Norway's in a bind, and they hate me. But, again, as I've said several times now, I'm worried about Norway. They're an ally, and I'm worried that Russia's going to declare war on them. Now, Iceland, been to Iceland several times. I like Iceland. Okay. We'll accept all of that. Looking at the build queue, this said there was 2, but yeah, we had fixed that already. We got 2 here. And again, I'm going to throw in... Let's look at our money situation. All right, so our daily expenses are 3,000 million. And we're only 23 income set. I don't want to throw in any more B-21 Raiders. So instead... I will throw in another tactical bomber. Or actually, I don't want that on, sorry. 2 tactical bombers. And then I tend to, once I get to the point where, we've got enough met to meet our immediate needs, like if we were declared war on right now, I have 27 Delta Raptors, and that would take care of me immediately. I no longer keep them on auto build because there's no sense in having 3,000 fighters when you only need... 50, for example. Also, that sound is a... Let's see if we can hear it again. South Africa continuing their rampage. It was a naval vessel bombarding the coast. I was hoping to hear it again so we could see where it was at. Improved ore mining. All right, I remember we made that earlier because we were very short on ores. Now, we produced 19,234. I imagine that's tons. And since that popped over, we're going to look at it. Let's see if we can increase also uranium. Improved uranium mining right there. Now, from 19,234 to what? 21. So it increased it by about 2,000, which is pretty good for not doing anything on my end other than researching a technology. I'm not using any more manpower. Didn't cost me any more money than the research of the technology itself. All right, Kazakhstan really likes me. Really likes the U.S. in this particular game. One thing that I will mention about, it's very, very seldom, I can count on one hand, I would say, the number of diplomatic offers I've gotten from nations other than trade deals. I will occasionally, I think, I can remember a few instances where I got requests for line-of-sight treaties, for example. It's very, very rare, but I have had it happen. And I think, in fact, I think it was either Japan or South Korea the last time it happened. I seem to remember that happening at some point in a different game, not this one. All right, now I'm going to reach the point here where I'm going to stop buying stuff willy-nilly because you can see, I think we're losing money. Are we still? Yeah, we're still in the hole here by 3. We're going to go to... They offer us 364. No, we're not going to accept that because that's us losing money now. 176. Nope, we're not going to accept that. You have to come back with a better offer if you want my money. Sorry, Gaboon, but I'm not going to accept that either. Taiwan, there's no... as much as it costs the U.S. to create rubber in this game, we're never, ever going to break even or get a request for even close. It costs us 4 times. The market value is 1,000, and it costs us 4,200. So we're never, ever. So I'm just going to go ahead and give them because there's not a lot of options when it comes to rubber in the world. And since they are... We're not an ally, but I would like to maintain good relations with them. All right, Hungary is an ally. I'll just give them whatever they want. Well, within reason. Again, Brunei. In this case, I'm going to reject because I want them to come back with better offers. At the very least, I want to save that oil to sell at market price because it does... Market price is better than what it costs us to produce. All right, Egypt has come back with an offer. They're offering us 80. This is for timber. They're offering us 80, and they only requesting 20. They give us $80 million, and they want $20 million worth of lumber or timber. So what we're going to do is auto-accept because that is definitely in our advantage. Trinidad offers 62 and requested 1. Nope, we're going to reject that. And, of course, Japan, they're really fighting a lot of wars. No one is really... I cannot believe, honestly, that Taiwan is still maintaining land in China. That's hard for me to believe, but I imagine it's because China's got so many troops out here in the desert, and they cannot get supply. So it's difficult for them to move troops back over here because they, if I'm not mistaken, they were at war with Russia. They're not... Yeah, they are still at war with Russia. So they're kind of spread out at the moment. But they want some timber. They're offering me $18 and they want $20 million. I'm going to go ahead and, in this case, I'm going to go Japan. I'm going to go ahead and accept. And I think all the wars in Europe for now are done with. We should see the military goods prices fall again. Non-reproductive cloning. And what that does, by the way, non-reproductive... Is that a science or technology? Let's take a gander here. See, it gives your healthcare rating up 2. But it leads to... Now, you got to be careful with these things because, for example, this enhanced human genetics, it says that healthcare rating is +2. But if you look closely, it's an unfavorable. The citizens don't like it. The public do not like that. So that will, if you research this, yes, you'll get +2 on your healthcare rating, but your citizens' domestic approval rating is going to go down. So you want to be very careful when you research and stuff. There's some things that I just won't research because of that. Not interested, at least early game. You know, later on when you've got a lot of stuff done and you can change your tax sliders and so forth and so on, it's a different story. But for now, there's some things I just won't research based on that alone. All right, robotic microsurgery leads to nanomedicine, which supportive. Notice this says supportive. So if we get that researched, our population will really like that. And some of these, by the way, have opinions on the world. So if you research something and the world opinion is against, for example, that means the world will start hating you because of that technology. So some things you know that are going to generate some hate towards you. You just got to be very careful when you're looking at these. They look good on paper, but sometimes you got to weigh the benefits of what the world is going to think of you or your people are going to think of you. In this case, I definitely want that, so we're going to throw it in. And of course, Taiwan wants more rubber. They just don't have any other place to get it. I'm curious, who is the #1 producer or exporter of rubber? Malaysia, Japan? Wow. Japan produces 9. They have a daily demand of 7. Taiwan produces 0. You see what Taiwan is doing? They're buying rubber from me and then reselling it on the world market at a higher price. Okay. You know, it helps them financially, so it's all right. Let's take a look at Norway up here. I want to see if there's any more technology we can give them to help them out. I want them to be as prepared as they can be when the Russians finally declare war, because I do believe it's inevitable. Okay, pollution levels -10. Environment rating up +4, and their population support. I will give them that. I will give them this also because that's what we just researched, and it will help them along the way to getting better health care. Now, I will build. I don't think this is really going to. Artillery improvements is really the biggest thing I like to give because that's a defensive technology. I'm going to help them with their soft-target defense and their anti-tank because Russia's going to come with some tanks. We'll let these guys build some improved tanks, and I will let them build, increase their production. Again, we're going to look at, they still hate us. Let's try this with all this. Nope, they won't do it. Worth a try. How about criminal? Nope. Still hate us too much. All right. Well, we'll send them that. Let it go. I'm sure they accepted it. They did. Now, the reason I like to keep... Oh, man, they can't even get Taiwan off their coast. And they're declaring war on everybody and their brother. Now, one thing I do like... I mentioned earlier, I like Iceland. I want to keep very good relations with them because they're important for ferrying aircraft from the U.S. to Europe, because sometimes you just can't get to here and here, but you can always go from Alaska. You can always go from, there's an air base right here, Gander, to Iceland to the U.K., and that cuts the distance down greatly instead of having to fly from here all the way to here. So I always try to maintain. Remember, I mentioned earlier I like taking one nation here and one nation in the Pacific. Same reason I keep Iceland. I want to have that option for air basing. All right, now unit construction. Unused army. Nope, that's not true. Everything is still full. What do we have out? All right, so these finally arrived from out in the South Pacific. Let's reserve them. These engineers, these are the leg engineers. So we're going to move them to Fort Rucker. And I want to look at maglev. All right, so maglev rail infrastructure will increase our infrastructure rating. It's also going to increase the cost a little bit, but I think it's worth it. All right, we want universal immunizations at some point, but just not right now. The same with this. This doesn't really do anything because NBC weapons effects really is not a variable for any. It doesn't matter, basically, is what I'm saying. All right, let's look at. We're going to throw this in. Yep, they're moving on their way. And I want to look at. That's a naval unit bombarding something. I don't know where it's at, though. There's too much combat going on. South Africa, man, they are on a roll. I told you earlier that that's what they typically do in my games. In this start at least. All right, Denmark. Denmark is an ally. So we'll give them that petroleum. I'm going to buy the petroleum from them because notice that They are offering me 360 million, and they're only requesting 340. So that's automatically, even if it was less money they were offering, I would auto accept, or I would accept, but I'm going to click auto accept so that we don't have to click on that in the future. Okay, the UAE, no, they're not offering me enough money. They're selling me petroleum, but only 294, and they want too much money back, so I'm going to reject. Again, I want to get my income up. In this case, Taiwan and rubber, I'm going to accept. Upgraded rail systems. All right, well, we got those two back to back. Both those will increase our infrastructure rating, giving more supply throughout, which in turn increases production capacity and output. I want to take a gander through here and see what we've got. I want to look. Let's look at missiles. Now the Harpoon has a range of 365 and it does 200 damage. It takes 9 days to build. But what can we build already? The D. And notice that's 245 damage. So we definitely want to keep that. We don't want the this version of it. So let's go ahead and lock that out. And I don't think that is the one I was talking about earlier that you can airdrop. But this is the Ridgeway, and I think that replaces it. Notice this has 3042, and this one is 4050. So we definitely want to replace that. It's a later version, and it's better. Hungary. Hungary should be an ally. And they want timber. I'm just going to go ahead and accept. Because in lieu of just giving them money, you know, you buy their product at an inflated price. And it helps. It's essentially the same thing as giving them money, but you're both getting something out of it. You're getting a little in return, and they're getting a little in return. Advanced Sterling engines. Very good. Let's see what that opened up. That should be under transportation. All right, advanced Sterling generators. Population power use -5. That's useful. All right, this is very useful. What is this? Solar. I think in one game, all the years I've owned this game, I've only one game that I build solar power. But that was my theme, was to get rid of, use all renewable energy. And you got to build a heck of a lot of it, by the way, if you're a large nation. All right, let's see what's available. We'll just go with this. How is our income? Yeah, we're just getting so far up into technology cost. Taiwan and their rubber. 16 unused Air Force units. Nothing left but the Global Hawks, a couple of Raptors, and the B-2s. B-2? Did I put B-2s? No, that's from a long time ago. Or did I put B-2s in there? I thought for sure I put B-21s. Maybe that was in research. Oh, yeah, I put it into research. My mistake. Okay. We're not going to build any more B-2s because they are expensive. We will take some more Raptors. Okay, I remember what I was going to do. That's 24. And I wanted to build a couple more Galaxies. I may have enough. But what I wanted to highlight, and I forgot all about it until just now, I wonder where my Galaxies are. Let's take a look here. Go all the way to the bottom. Right there, galaxies. And I don't want the half. First of all, we're going to get rid of all of these. How many are there? I think there were 10. All right, so starting with the 169th is the new ones. All right, so let's get rid of everything down to 169th, or bring them out of, let's deploy them. Because these are the units that are not full. Squadrons are under strength. Okay, and that should be 10 of them. Yeah, 1048. We're going to just scrap all of these. Now, that's an example of under strength squadrons. Now, what I want to talk to you about now is the opposite of that. Probably none of the new ones. Yeah, none of the new ones are in there, so we're going to have to move them. Let's take these galaxies. I tell you what, I really don't like this small, how small the UI is when you're playing this at 4K. Let's give them enough time to deploy and fill up with fuel. France. Now, it's interesting. I've mentioned this before, that France does not start as an ally. But why in the world they would attack the... Well, I know why. They're right next door, and they're just generating hate towards each other for some reason. And Antigua's, they have no money, they're broke, so France is probably going to take them over really quickly. Even though that's in South America, the Americas, this is not my goal in this game, is to defend the Americas. All right, let's look at this. We're going to take all of these galaxies. There's 26 of them. I'm going to move them initially to Fort, to Moody, which is my hometown, Valdosta, Georgia. All right, and then we're going to take 7 of them. Well, actually, we'll take 1 for now. We'll put it at Fort Rucker, and I'm going to slow down speed for this. And we're going to take a couple of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And we're going to move them to here. That way they can all land. But what I want to highlight here is I showed you an example. Oh, that's just a regular air. That's not an air base. There's another air base around here somewhere. How come I don't know where it is? There, we'll move them there. Because I want them all to land. I don't want them to be shuffling around and burning fuel. Now, the reason I showed you these galaxies earlier is because they were under strength. They only had a capacity of 1,000 tons. These are the full strength ones that have 1,500. But what you can do, let's say you want to move a lot of tanks, and you know in the future you're going to have to do that. What you do is you split one of these squadrons in half. Let the time run. Now you have 2 half-strength squadrons. What you do is you take one full-strength squadron and combine it with the half-strength squadron. And by the way, this works for ground units and air units. So the full-strength squadron is the 169th. Once it's landed, you click on anything but the 169th, and you click Merge Unit. Let's do this again. Merge units. Right-click on that airbase and merge it with the 169th. And they will combine. Now, instead of 1,500 capacity, they have 2,358. And that is now an overstrength squadron. 2,358 cargo capacity. We're going to move him down here for now. So let's do that again. We're going to take another full strength, come over here and merge it with the half strength to create an overstrength unit. Again, click a unit, click on merge, right-click the airbase where the other unit is at, and then click on the other unit, and they will merge. Again, 2358 now, cargo capacity. And again, this can be done for land units. Now, if let's say you're playing the World War II scenario or something that's very early in the time frame, and your cargo capacity for anything, whether it be aircraft or naval vessels, is very low, and you need to move some units, do the same thing with a ground unit. Take the ground unit and split it, and then it's two smaller versions, and then you may be able to fit it into an aircraft or a naval vessel in order to move it somewhere. Just a thought to keep in mind. I will come back the next video, and we'll continue doing what we're doing, and every now and then I'll try to throw something in there that's may not be common knowledge. Until then, adios. Ciao.